Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we are doing a top 10 video. It's been a minute since I've done one in this style, but I'm very excited to get back into the swing of things. Hopefully you'll be able to do these a little more often now. But yeah, today we're doing the top 10 archetypal field spells of all time. This list is insanely hard. I mean, seriously, the first thing I want to get out there as a disclaimer is everybody's going to have a field spell in their mind. Union Hanger. Spoiler alert, it's not on here. The archetype field spells are crazy. We make jokes about it now, how every deck gets a Rhoda field spell. It's crazier than that when you really go through and look at all the field spells that have come along over the years, and it's seriously crazy. So I'm going to be zooming through this. We got 10 whole field spells to go through. Sorry if I left anything off, but absolutely let me know in the comment section down below what field spell you think I might have left off on this list that I probably should have included. I went through them all, and these to me were the top 10. So let's get into it. Number 10 on the list is Pacifist. What is it? Phantasm City. This card is crazy. When you really look at this card in a vacuum, you have to look at the fact that this card gets you a body super easily. And second, searches you one of the traps. I mean, technically you search the equip spells as well, but those suck. So search one of the traps, and then it's like on your opponent's turn, you get a beefy body and either a Dryden or an Impermanence. And that's also every single turn that your token gets cleared or you just ever summon a normal monster. Absolutely insane field spell. I left it off because this archetype's never really been that great, but I do think as a central pillar in the archetype, Pacifist is absolutely bonkers. It's a crazy card. If we ever got a card like this that didn't have as bad a restriction as, obviously you can't summon any effect monsters the turn you use either of its effects, we could actually see that be like a new legit meta deck, and I would not be surprised. So yeah, Pacifist, number 10 for me. Number 9 on the list is Magical Meltdown. This one was a really tough slot. As you can see, it's just one of the Rhoda field spells. It's not even one of the non-once per turn ones, which obviously takes to a whole nother level of broken. But there's a handful of these field spells that I thought could have fit in this slot. I think the new Therian Disc Coliseum's a really crazy card. The Libromancer field spell being a Rhoda plus just a straight up ritual spell, not even once per turn on the ritual spell effect, is absolutely crazy. Oracle of Zephyr giving you the potential to search any monster in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Insane, right? So obviously there were some other good options. I went with Meltdown here because I think time and time again it has proven to be broken. Absolutely. Every time we've seen this come into play, obviously it's a Rhoda for a 1-card combo that has inherent recursion, which is obviously insane. And the other thing that put this over the top for me, it's just the fact that it says your opponent can't respond to your most important effects, period. Not period, obviously there are specific ways where you can work around it, but it does make it very tough for a lot of inherent cards that would stop you at certain points to be unable to, and that is invaluable, so absolutely crazy. I think this is a pretty good one. This was the last Rhoda field spell that made the cut for me, and I feel good about it. It's a couple other ones, like I said, but Magical Meltdowns feels pretty good at 9. Moving to number 8, this may be a surprise to be a little, further back on the list than you might expect, but I've actually got Spiral Resort at number 8. This card's crazy, but all in all for me, I felt like this card would have been even more insane if this could have searched any Spiral card. Unfortunately, it can only search Spiral monsters, so obviously not bad, obviously still a great effect, and the fact that it's a main phase effect instead of just a on activation makes it even crazier, because it means if you just leave it on the field, it survives till next turn, you have a free search every single turn. It added to not only making Spiral a tier 0 deck at one point, but also just a combo deck that if you added the combo but didn't out Resort, they were going to get a free +1 on the next turn as well. And the protection effect is absolutely slept on. That effect is so annoying. Now, no targeting on any Spiral monsters is really, really tough, especially when they have what's the big, I don't remember the big guy's name, when he's equipped with the other one, the armor guy. I can't even remember their names right now. Never been a huge Spiral guy, but this field spell's crazy. Number 8 for me. Maybe a little lower than some people, but you'll see there's still some crazy field spells yet to be talked about. Number 7 on the list, Numeron Network. This field spell is insane. Just plopping a ton of Exceed monsters for free right out of the extra deck for either the potential to just OTK with the little Numeron guys, or the potential to make a big boss monster. I mean, we saw when Zexal was still around that this was just a 1-card Zexal. It was crazy. Hidden City or Subterrors were running around with this engine in their deck and just stunting on people for a little bit. is really crazy. I like that it used to have a going first and a going second connotation. Now it's just a really powerful going second card. You would play a deck with just like a bunch of board breakers with this card, bait out all the negates, and then just go bam, numeron network, OTK, duel's over. You see it in Master Duel all the time. This field spell's still crazy, although it's not as good without Zexal, obviously. Number 6, we have Ignister at a island. This is the craziest extender we've arguably ever seen for a field spell. It's absolutely bonkers. The fact that this card can just summon any number of Ad Ignister monsters from your hand essentially throughout the turn. I believe it's only locked to different attributes, each one, but because of the way Ad Ignisters are designed, they have pretty much a good Ad Ignister monster for every single attribute. It's insane. And not only that, but the fact that it's one of those few field spells that can just get itself back from grave is just even more busted. Where if your opponent's out to it is like, remove it, you better be shuffling it, banishing it, or whatever, because if you send it to grave, it's coming back. And it just makes it even harder to deal with, and it allows for a lot of extension, playing through hand traps, all that stuff. As a reason why people hand trap the Link 1 and Ad Ignisters, and it's because this card is such a house when it comes to extending your plays in the deck. Definitely Ignistrated Island, and I feel great about that one. Number 5 on the list, we have Boot Sector Launch. This card is absolutely slept on. I feel like a lot of people might disagree with this one. This one might be a little bit based here, but listen. Okay, I know it's not that searching field spell. I know it's not this crazy, search card, summon multiple monsters card like we've gone over here. But I just feel like what this card does pretty much like solely ends up being the backbone for Dragon Link. We've seen Dragon Link be not just good, but meta contending for years. And Boot Sector Launch is a huge reason for that. It makes the engine one card and go. We've seen these decks that search free field spells like Salamangrates and Marine Cess, but the field spells don't really do anything to actually further the game state. But the fact that this card furthers the game state, and it's just a free card that allows you to pop it for free just for your Tracer, is super, super important for extension. So I really expect, I expect Dragon Link to do, continue to be a really good deck, and this card is like the backbone reason for it. We've had people call for a ban on this because Striker Dragon was too good, just being able to get this for free. And yeah, this card's crazy. It's kind of like my underdog one. I don't know how many people will agree with this one being as high as it is, but whatever. I like it. Boot Sector Launch. It's really good. Number 4 on the list is Generator Boss Stage. This is one of the craziest field spells we've ever seen. I mean, listen, if Generators weren't a deck designed around playing like 6 or 7 bricks in your deck, if you were playing a pure variant, then this deck would have been meta a long time ago. Trust, just on the back of this field spell. It's absolutely crazy. When your opponent, any card is added to your opponent's hand, you just summon a generator straight from the deck. That includes draw phase. So if you just activate this pass, they draw for turn, you get a generator from the deck. That includes any of the interruptive ones if you want, and then you get a full field of tokens to 1, protect yourself from being OTK'd, even if they can play through interruption, but 2, just be your tribute fodder for the rest of your generator effects. This card is insane. I still love generators. I like the way they play. You obviously have to hate the fact that you're gonna brick on the big monsters, and it's just kind of a shame. But still in a vacuum, this field spell is one of the craziest archetyped field spells we've ever seen, and I will stand by that till the end of time. Absolutely. Generator Boss Stage, number 4. Now we're down to the final 3, and these 3 are very good. Number 3, I've got Dragonic Diagram. First and foremost, you got to bring up that it's not a hard once per turn, just a soft once per turn. So if you have a second copy, I know it's been at 1 for a couple of years, but it wasn't always that way. If you have another copy, you can just lay a second one down, get another search, and keep the resources rotating. Secondly, it pops a card instead of like discarding a card to search or sending a card to search. And that actually gives you so much more versatility in terms of like combining this with other cards that may give you value, other cards that float when they're destroyed to just maintain those resources, or in True Draco's case, popping the spells and traps to then use the spells and traps to also get extra removal playing into a board as well. And on top of that, you have the protection effect and the effect that raises the attack. I know the attack raise doesn't sound that crazy, but when you look at how big the True Draco monsters already are, it starts to get out of hand really, really quickly, especially for a control deck. that like maintains resources like pretty well, especially in its heyday. So Dragonic Diagram, for all those reasons, just kind of a lot of good, just a lot of good. I wouldn't even say this card's broken. I would just say like everything about it is just good. And when it's 4 or 5 separate good things about it, it ends up being one of the 3 best archetypal field spells of all time. Number 2, Trickstar Light Stage. I have a lot of bad memories with this card playing against my buddy Chris, who mained this deck for like 2.5 years. This field spell did me dirty all the time, especially when Light Stage was at 3 and Terraforming was at 3. Yeah, I mean, it was out of this world, a nuisance, especially for somebody like me who likes to play back row decks. This card is crazy. We need to go over this. First effect is insane. Obviously, searching a Trickstar on activation is great. It could have searched a Trickstar card, but there's honestly just reincarnation, and you get to Candina, who gets you reincarnation anyway, so it's not even a big deal. Secondly, not once per turn, so just getting another Trickstar monster, keep extending from there. It's crazy, and of course, the awesome, one of the most awesome bonus effects. I don't love playing against Trickstars, but I love this bonus effect. Makes the deck have like inherent good matchups versus like back row decks, just so that before you even have to commit anything to the field, once you activate Terraforming, you can just start going after back row. Helps you play into boards, helps you just clear back row without having to deal with them at all if they're the right kind of back row for you. And that's really, really strong. So Light Stage for me, number 2 all time for archetypal field spells. And part of it's definitely biased because I've had a lot of really bad experiences versus Light Stage, but still, it's insane. I have to respect it. And the number 1 archetypal field spell of all time, to me, has to be Dragon Shrine. This one's kind of weird for me. I almost wasn't even going to include this on the list. It is absolutely an archetypal field spell. It says specifically an effect that has to do with Dragonities on it, even though most of the time it ends up getting used generically. But that's part of what moved it up to number 1, is because, I don't know, every single good dragon, like good dragon deck we've seen over the last, I don't know, 5 years has really been attempting to abuse this card. We've seen it in pendulum decks where they just send Dark Worm so they can just summon Dark Worm immediately and get a ton of resources going out the gate. We've seen it with Destrudo. We've seen it with other dragons, Absolrouter even, like whatever it is that you want to send. There's multiple good targets. This card's been crazy. I can't believe they made a field spell like this just be Foolish Burial for any dragon in the game, especially when dragons are already one of the most like developed types of all time. It almost is like Rhoda-esque to me. I would not be surprised if this card ever goes to 1, although most of the time this is only played at 1, but I wouldn't be surprised if we end up getting dragon support at some point where this card is just such an amazing starter. You play it at 3, you play the Terraforming, and you want to see it as good as much as you can, but until then, you know, it's at 3. It's one of the greatest field spells of all time. In my opinion, it's the greatest archetype to field spell of all time, just because of that genericness, on top of the fact that it's an awesome field spell for its own archetype, right? We talked about Necro Valley, how like, sure, Necro Valley's fine in Gravekeepers, but Gravekeepers haven't done anything in so long. If anything, it's just played as a generic floodgate in specific metas when there are very graveyard-centric decks. Outside of that, it isn't really doing enough for its archetype. So that's why stuff like that ended up not making the list where Dragonic Shrine did. It's done both. It's been generically amazing. It's been in its own archetype really nice as well. And you got to respect it. So there you go. There's my number 1, Dragon Shrine. Yeah, that sums it all up. Definitely let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on the list and where you want to see Konami go with field spells. I've thought about some weird things, like weird ideas with it. Maybe that'll be a video for another time talking about where Konami could go with field spells, but just in a different direction. It feels like every new core set we have a new Rhoda field spell, and I don't think that's that much of an exaggeration if you really were to look back on it. It's just crazy, but I still like field spells all in all. I'm not mad when we get a new Rhoda one. It just is like another one, huh? Okay. Could do something a little different, but okay. But yeah, that's it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from me down the line, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.